Hi,
There we are.
here we are.
And we have chosen like a spot here. Actually, we're in the middle of harvest, right? Or you're in the middle of harvest. And
End
I was
of
very
harvest.
spontaneous
Yeah.
to call you today and say, can we record the interview? And you were like, yeah, we managed.
We made it happen, yeah.
And then we found a nice vineyard and we actually don't know who it belongs to. We went more for the view and the panorama to show what you work with here, right?
Sometimes you have to choose the right spot. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. No, we are actually at the end of harvest.
Yeah.
So we picked our last Riesling today with some nice botrytis.
Beautiful acidity, by the way. I tasted some grapes.
Oh, cool.
It's really,
cool,
really lovely.
Cool. That was just the moment I wasn't there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, so we got one more day, end of the week, to take some late harvest Gewürztraminer. And that's it. Then we're done. So right now we found actually looking like Pinot Noir. Could be Pinot Noir, bigger clone Pinot Noir. Yeah, found a nice spot to do some interview.
And behind us, I mean, as you just said, the Dreiländereck, right? So the
Yeah.
three-country region. We're in Luxembourg.
We sit in Luxembourg and looking on somewhere in the mist on Germany and France, and I nearly fell now.
I mean, this is something like I said last time already when I was with Cohen Cox and also Sun Hoffmann and also Henri Ruppert, who are all like somewhere there, right? I mean, we can see Ruppert's estate probably somewhere there in the background.
Just behind the... you can
I see it a little bit there in between,
yeah.
And I mean, this is such a magical region of Europe to be in, right?
Big story, long story, great history.
Yeah, it makes you a little bit humble in terms of history, I think, and also like with the influence of the cuisine and the grape varieties you work with.
Absolutely, yeah. We are kind of special, I believe, in Luxembourg. We got many little small terroirs, because when you look at the valley in general, you always have some small terroir spots where it's quite a hilly side and going inside country a little bit, and working quite on many different varieties in Luxembourg. So yeah, you got a lot of different stuff to taste.
And there's also like a little bit the story. I mean, we can talk about the estate in a second, but just very briefly, it's a bit the story of Luxembourg, right? I mean, your winery is 45 minutes in this direction, and you have plots like in many different spots in the stretch of the Luxembourg Moselle.
Yeah, the winery is actually around 25 minutes drive from here. Why? Because we started 5 years ago, and not owning an own building, we got our own press, and so we rented in another cellar some spare place to actually ferment our wines under their roof. And that's the reason why we found the spot there. We have to drive 25 minutes. Other than that, yes, we also got a few different spots of vineyards, but mainly focused on the Schengen.
So I think this is a very good bridge to our first question for you. You did not want to prepare yourself, so I'm excited to see how it goes. First question for you, Rob. If you wouldn't be a winemaker today, what else would you do with your life?
Well, originally I started going into economics, so it's already my second choice. No, I figured out that sitting on a desk my whole life wouldn't be what I would love to do. So I changed to go into winemaking, or especially grape production originally. Yeah, so if I had to choose again now, if it wouldn't be winemaking today, from what I saw over the last years, I believe it would still be in environment movement or sustainability, renewable energy, something like that. Could be is a big thing interesting me right now.
I see now a reason why I come to Copenhagen, not only because of our wine trade fair, but also like, I mean, renewable to speak, right? In Denmark, it's...
see, it all comes together at one point.
Somehow like the path leads that way. I love it. So you studied economics? So you graduated also in economics?
No,
Okay.
Only 6 months before figuring out that it wouldn't be my future.
Okay. So, and then you decided when to become a winemaker?
So actually, story-wise, my grandparents been grape producers for the big cooperative in Luxembourg.
Okay.
And they retired some years back. So I knew what actually this season harvest would be like from a child on, sitting next to grandpa on the tractor and driving around and having the, let's call it the nice side of the wine production process. So there was some entrance into that whole field, and it came back to mind to actually go more in that direction once I started studying economics, and so I redirected and changed my way in 2011. Yeah.
2011. Okay, so it's not so long ago, so to say. 14 years. So you did an apprenticeship then, and you learned winemaking, or did you study enology somewhere?
Yes, I actually started with an apprenticeship or an internship. Internship, and then went to study and came back and had different steps of my life, where then at some point I had to figure out that I needed to see something else. So I took a break. Actually, I wanted to take a break and started traveling a little bit more. But immediately came back into winemaking, and at the end I was for 2 years traveling a little bit around, being as well wine related as well as simply private traveling, and worked on in different countries and had different experiences, till at some point in 2019 my grandma called me while I was away if I wanted to take over the half a hectare vineyard that was still left in family. So that's how it all started out, and yeah.
So if you look back at this very, very interesting cast on becoming a winemaker, I mean, the second question I have for you is there a specific experience, or like maybe even a specific person you can point to in your process of becoming a winemaker that influenced your style of winemaking? Or would you say it's way too difficult to point to one experience or person?
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say there's one. I would definitely say there are many. I managed to actually build, in my opinion, a nice relationship with different winemakers as well here in this area. So having the possibility to exchange in between each other some information, some questioning, and trying to help each other a little bit, which influences a lot. But of course there was like a few key points in life as well. For example, the harvest in South Africa I passed was quite impressive, and actually, especially for the first wine I made under my own label, a big influence, yeah, definitely.
South Africa pops up quite often for the winemakers I interview.
Apparently,
at least.
yeah.
New Zealand or South Africa is usually like a reference point where there's something really changed.
Well, you're in southern hemisphere, so it's quite nice to be away, passing another harvest, or passing like 2 harvests in 1 year, while not missing the one here. You can pass 2 harvests when you're having one time.
And very different influences you get also there, right? Different grape varieties, different mentality.
Yes, but still kind of the same. You always learn. For me personally, what I learned is dealing with what you got on the different spots. Doesn't matter if it was Bosnia, Serbia, or South Africa. Everyone has to deal with the cards given on the spot, the grape varieties, the climate, the soil, the cellar possibilities, and from there on you try and express yourself and your wines. Let your wines express themselves. Yeah.
Now I'm very excited about your answer to the third question. Actually, third question, the mean one, especially without preparation. You and your personality as a bottle of wine. What do we open? Grape variety, wine style. Who are you in a bottle?
Could actually be 2 things, I would say. I would love to answer Pinot Noir, but that's wrong. I'm not diva enough to be Pinot Noir. I believe a quite nice acidity-driven Riesling, so with a nice minerality. Can't tell you exactly from which spot. It could could actually be something from the Pfalz, maybe.
In the Pfalz, okay, so a little
Could
bit
be.
of herbal characteristics also, fennel, a little bit rounder, a little bit smoother, but still dry.
But still dry and having a nice acidity on the back, as well as maybe Chardonnay. Burgundy Chardonnay, expressing nicely, maybe a little bit aged, being round but still having the minerality and acidity on a nice chalky soil. I believe that could actually be the right wine. Yeah.
I like it. You're one of the very few actually I interviewed so far who actually answered with wines from other varieties, or maybe not varieties, but other terroirs than you work with.
Yeah.
Usually, the Mosel winemakers, they're always like, yeah, I'm a Mosel Riesling from like my steep slopes here behind me, right?
Yeah.
Because they associate so much of it. But I like a little bit how also this maybe like this coming late to it and through the family, like a little bit secondary, but also being very well traveled and coming around maybe shapes
I don't
your
know if I would
there.
call myself well traveled, but actually traveled. I would love to actually travel still more, but obviously if you
tough as a
start your own
winemaker
thing,
sometimes, yeah.
Tough, yeah.
First question for you. It's more like an open statement, so you tell me your associations. Nature, when it comes to your work as a winemaker.
Nature?
Nature, what does it?
Everything.
Everything.
It's everything. It's your foundation. You have to work with it. We have to preserve it. We have to think about finding the right ways to deal with the cards given again. And yeah, it's everything.
I like that. With those words, can you introduce your estate very briefly to us? Who are you? What are you doing here?
Trying to make wine, actually, that hopefully tastes nice in two different consumers. No, so we started in 2020 having a proper production. The wines go under the name Molling Wines. We are farming right now, with we I mean my wife and I. We are farming right now 4.2, let's say 4.2 hectares of vineyards, and producing around about 22 to 25,000 bottles a year. Typically for Luxembourg, we got quite a wide range of grape varieties, still not trying to make too many different wines. So a big spot, a big place in my heart takes Pinot Blanc. I really love that variety. That's actually...
Who doesn't?
I don't know, it's not that famous all the time here. Many people, consumers prefer Pinot Gris. Many producers or winemakers actually, I believe, prefer other varieties too. They may be a little bit, at least in Luxembourg, sometimes sick of Pinot Blanc, but I love it. The different facets you can produce with Pinot Blanc is quite amazing. And of course, it was a big part of the first wine actually made by us. Yeah, that's a little bit how we deal and trying to express with low intervention wines how Luxembourg is, how the Luxembourgish terroir is, and how we are. Probably your next question will be, who are you, or how are you? Trying to be authentic. I don't know if it always works. Not hiding stuff. So the wines are not super perfectly round, having some edges and being a little bit, I don't know how you call it, Ellenbogen raus.
Elbows out, I think, like a little bit like, no beautification.
No beautification.
Just pure.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion at least, so you gotta try it. We got a dirty bottle first of all, as we just stole it from our
from your harvest party,
from your harvest team.
It's a harvest lunch.
I believe we are not allowed to finish it, because otherwise we're gonna be in big trouble.
And there's a smiley on it.
There's a smiley on it. That's all that is on.
This is all there's on, and this is because...
Well, there will be a back, or there is actually a back label, but
we just don't have a back label
We
yet.
just don't have the... No, we got it.
Okay.
But that's the one for the harvest team that doesn't have one.
So because you're not selling it officially, you don't need other stuff.
That one, yes.
That is just for internal consumption,
so for today, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's look at the smiley. And what do we have in the glass?
Cheers, first of all. Try and smell. Tell me a little bit what you could maybe find in the glass.
I find a typical connotation that I have of some of those varieties you have in Luxembourg. I mean, the first thing that comes really out is, of course, your chalky soil here and your more like less lean soil that gives like some substance, some depth. There's some nice hint of florality. I wouldn't call it a florality like I have it in a Pinot Blanc usually. No. And it's a wine that is very shy, but it tells me also immediately I'm a complex bitch if you let me to be.
Give it time, yeah.
Give it time, opening up. So my intuition would be, basically in Luxembourg, and I know a little bit about the grape varieties, that we either could speak of an Elbling or an Auxerrois. Mm-hmm. It's too complex for an Elbling, so I would go with the Auxerrois, also because of the florality and the depth and the creaminess it has. That would be my intuition. Now, don't tell me it's a Riesling, because then I'm confused.
No. That would go too far. No, it's Müller-Thurgau.
It's Müller-Thurgau.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Plus X.
And what is a plus X? Gewürz, okay. So,
but on a really small part.
What is the composition? Like 85-15?
Yeah, nearly. It's like 12-13% of Gewürz. Yeah.
I must honestly say, and I didn't try to speak the wine up or anything, but this is probably one of the most interesting and complex Rivanas I had in a long time. I must honestly say.
Thank you.
I really admire the style of wine. So this is
low intervention is a big theme, big word. I try to not be black and white in life, and not be black and white making wine as well. So finding just the right thing to do on the right moment. What I mean by trying to be low intervention is actually only doing some intervention if needed.
Okay.
So if we want to have some clarity, like in that wine, being quite nice and dry and still a little bit fruity, I tend to actually use a yeast that will produce this style. On other wines, if it's more freestyle, I let them go. So in this case, trying to find the balance with a yeast that is used, but without using all these different products that you can use afterwards to put it round and nice and smooth, and you can probably feel some of that, a little bit of tannins in the back. Some slightly bitterness that will actually help you while according it to some dishes or whatever. And those are things that you could actually still round up and work in the cellar. And that's something that I never do. Trying to let the wine express themselves like they are. If we have to chaptalize in different years on different varieties, which is super rare. I try not to do it due to the idea of simply letting the wine be like it is. But sometimes simply you have to. This is a nice vintage. On a 23 vintage, for example, you sometimes have to do it because you don't get all the potential always from the vineyard you have. So trying not to be black and white. Trying to find the grey way through things, and still trying to let wines develop themselves without too much intervention.
I like the general approach to it because I mean, you live off your estate, right?
Yes.
I mean, that is your income, and your wife is living off it too, or she has her own job on the side, or how?
She works partially.
She works partially. Okay, and this is something that I think we also have to talk a little bit more about. I had a very nice conversation with Corinne Cox from Remich about it, where she basically was, I mean, she works organic and so on and so forth after best standards, and I remember how we were talking and she was like, in vintages like 2023, I really doubt while I'm doing that, because
See, now
we
we
both
got
live
again
here
that vintage 2023.
we work 80 hours, and at the end of the day, we work organic, and the thanks for it is we don't have anything to live from, right?
Yeah.
So there's this kind of balance that winemakers have to find, especially, I mean, let's say it like in an expensive country like Luxembourg, right? I mean, you also have to make money.
Well, in the end, I believe it's the same. Doesn't matter which country you live in. Doesn't matter if it's Luxembourg or some other winemaking country. It all comes back in the end to the same thing over and over again. Sustainability can only work if your company or your winery is sustainable as well.
Yeah, of course.
So if you're running out of money, there won't be any sustainability anymore, and you can't actually do anything if you don't survive. If you get a little bit what I mean.
Totally. I'm totally in for that perspective, because sometimes, I know a lot of these like Demeter certified wineries, or also like highly specialized organic wineries, who struggle from year to year, and especially when we come a little bit in a debate I have like so many winemakers these days, global warming. And how global warming affects us. And this is, I think, something that you feel like everybody else. Extreme weather events, how global warming really unfolds itself, and harvest is significantly at risk. We suddenly have hail in September when we never had hail.
Well,
we have
have
this
a look
rainfalls.
on the last 2 weeks of harvest. Just before harvest was a super nice September starting, and then we had like I believe 200 millimeters of rain over the 2 weeks of harvest. We had some nice dry windows to actually pick as well, and I don't know how it actually happened that those grapes survived that nicely all this rain, because after the first 3-4 days and having this big quantities of rain, I was convinced that that's it. Now we have to pick it ASAP, just simply to get it in. Doesn't matter the ripeness we have, just because we will have 4 more days before everything will be turned. And
it's exactly what happened in the Middle Moselle, actually, where they cut out half of the very, very nice grapes they had, because they just were beginning to burst and were full of water, and
happening in 3 days. So you don't have the time to actually react,
or the manpower,
or both. We were super lucky. As this morning we picked Riesling, because last week I saw that it started rotting a little bit, but going into a positive and nice botrytis, edelfäulnis, due to the cold temperatures we had end of the week and overnights. And organic is not a big theme. Trying to spray organically as much as possible. Not being certified right now, maybe someday, because to the point today I'm still using phosphoric acid if needed. In a vintage like this, no. Super low doses of copper possible this year, but in a vintage like 23, again, that's super nice one. I was happy to have it, to have the phosphoric acid and have some power. If you're looking at those, even if it's not my vineyard, if you have to go down here by tractor after it rained, or on a wet period, or today, I nearly slipped 10 minutes ago, so the tractor would actually do the same, and that would be quite risky. And I believe we take super nice care of our vineyards, want to take care of our soils, getting better and better and better, but we mustn't forget ourselves, because the better I am with myself and in a balance with myself, the better I will be able to interpret. That's the right term. Situations, moments, knowing, okay, I can let those grapes still hang for another week, or I have to spray now, or get the feeling on what to do taking the right decisions actually. So we have to take care of ourselves as well, and we always take care taking care of the vineyards and the soils and all those reflections, but forgetting us. And I think that's the next step too, actually.
I really like, now it came like a good way around in all the crisis topics we can potentially mention. So should I be organic or not organic? What is economic sustainability for a winery? Global warming challenges. So let's talk quickly about the other big challenge that we have those days. I mean, you are young yourself, right? How old are you now? 30, 37, 38?
34.
34, okay.
Thank you, thank you.
So mid-30s, somewhere where we are. How do you look at the market? Because what I experience also, like when talking to other like young winemakers, like for example Nicolas Ruppert, he's also quite honest and quite realistic about it. That Luxembourg has always been this like little wine paradise. All your wine is like consumed inside the country, 1,200 hectares.
A lot,
but changes are on the way, right? And
probably, if we look a little bit further to Germany or France, you see way more of the crisis already happening, or Spain or Portugal or whatever. And I believe still being in a paradise bubble, maybe a little bit, things are changing. We have the situation as well that we are missing young people following up. So the new generation is actually missing. More and more vineyards are risking to not be farmed in the future anymore, which produces again different crises for region and so on. But mainly I think we have to focus now on establishing the proper view still on what we as farmers, winemakers are standing for, how we're producing, what we're producing, and therefore creating again more the relationships that maybe got lost a little bit over the last decades, and going back to the relationships maybe our grandparents had.
With the customers, especially the private customers also, yeah.
Closer customer relationships, and finding a nice balance in a multicultural, open world where you can order everything tomorrow, or order everything today and get delivered tomorrow, but still knowing where the product is coming from, who has produced it, and getting in touch with the way it is actually talking about wine produced, farmed. Yeah.
I like the perspective. I think export is also something that Luxembourg wine producers have to talk about, right?
I believe we wouldn't stand in face of each other if that wouldn't be. Me for myself, I always had the idea of exporting a little bit, maybe not millions of bottles because I don't farm them, but exporting some parts. First of all, to show Luxembourg is known for banks and financial services.
Unfortunately,
and
not
stuff.
for wine. It's
And
really it is a pity because I really like the style of this country. It's so amazing. And that's
the reason why it is so important that Luxembourg is finally getting out into a little bit into the world, into Copenhagen. And,
I want to say I worked hard on it, like the last 1.5 years, to get like the Swiss and the Luxembourg producers on board.
Same story
same story.
Quite similar, actually, the countries in the way of farming and the problems or so on. Because on the size, for example, on people, on what the countries are known for. So yeah, I believe it's quite important as well to actually get known for wines maybe as well, or at least showing off a little bit that we got wines that are quite nice. And other than that, we have to see what the future brings in terms of production. I believe we all are touched. It doesn't matter if we're super big producers or super small. Some challenges may be a little bit different, but still, at the end of the day, let's talk European. We are all sitting in one boat. So we have to face it and trying to find solutions together.
I like that perspective. It's also like a very good bridge to closing it up slowly. I mean, we see you in Copenhagen together with like 9 or 10 other like high quality Luxembourg producers. I think it's a really nice lineup of showing the diversity and the quality of Luxembourg wine to Scandinavia. But if you look at yourself and your fairly young winery, 5 years
Absolutely.
5 years from now,
Super young, yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully still in the same country. No. Actually, would love to have my own building where it would be easier to accommodate people, do tastings, have less driving, and maybe going a little bit bigger, but not too much.
Below the 10 hectares, I guess,
yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah. Not even doubling. Well, you never know, but it's not the goal. It's not the idea. And yeah, having my wife maybe standing next to me today as well and not be working, honestly, and children dancing around as well. That could actually be a nice idea. Yeah.
I like those very beautiful closing remarks. Let's cheers on that. And I see you in Copenhagen.
Well, you don't have any. We have to refill.
Let's refill for cheering. I like that idea. Also, as I say it again, very inspiring Müller-Thurgau with Gewürztraminer you have here. I'm pretty excited about this.
Gewürztraminer gives it a little bit that rose palette in the end, rounding it up, and the longer it is open, the more it expresses himself again.
Cheers on that. See you in Copenhagen.
See you in Copenhagen.